Hey everybody, Nick Espinosa, your chief security fanatic here. Don't forget to subscribe. And today we're going to be talking about the U.S. National Health Institute. Now, I want to say right out of the gate, and if you're a longtime listener or follower of mine, you know what I'm going to say, and that is cybersecurity is agnostic to politics, but we're not immune from it. And we have to talk about what is going to be a potential privacy nightmare in what they are calling a national health database. So here's what's happening per NBC News local reporting to Washington, D.C. So privacy experts are basically sounding the alarm. Hey everybody, privacy expert, after the federal government announced a plan earlier, basically a week ago or so, to create a health database of the U.S. population. Now, the National Institutes of Health Director Jay Bhattacharya basically said that the information will be used for autism research and a national disease registry. Now, the announcement came after HHS Secretary RFK Jr. promised to find the cause of autism by September of 2025. And for the record, that's not really how research works. Research can be very fast or very long and laborious, depending on how complex the subject is. So it's kind of weird, I think, that they put a deadline on that, just especially since I've done research projects before, but I digress. So in a presentation to the NIH's Council of Councils, which advises the NIH director on matters related to the agency's Division of Program Coordination, Planning, and Strategic Initiatives, Bhattacharya outlined the data platform's main goal of covering most of the country's population. The presentation slide outlined essentially the government's sources for obtaining the data, including health organizations, pharmacy chains, wearable sensors like smartwatches, and more. Quote, I think my first response was a resounding why. That's according to Tom Ridgway, basically a student at Prince George's County with autism. And yeah, I mean, why do they need this information? Ridgway also said that the practice sounds like an invasion of privacy, especially if people don't consent to the release of their private information. And he is absolutely correct. Here in the United States, we have HIPAA compliance, which essentially ensures that you have the rights to your medical information. If you're going to a doctor and they are diagnosing you with stuff or working with you, prescribing medications, whatever it is, you basically have to give consent for them to give the data anywhere else. And it doesn't really sound like in this case, the NIH is saying, oh, we're going to ask for permission. They're just saying, no, we're going to build it and take it. So are they getting it from the big EMRs, the electronic medical record systems like Epic? We don't know how this is going to work. The presentation said the NIH plans to, quote, protect patient confidentiality, end quote, but they really didn't give any specifics or return comments to local NBC News. Privacy laws, for the record, as I mentioned, allow providers to disclose limited data sets for research and public health purposes, but they are required to ensure your confidentiality when transferring that information. If you recall, you sign a consent form if they have an outsourced medical biller to say the medical biller can get your information as well. But the whole point of this is that the chain of custody starts and stops with you, meaning your private health data, you should be the one that says, okay, the government gets it or it doesn't. Now, if you're looking historically, at other countries where you've got, let's say, centralization of these kinds of records, especially for some kind of research, but on a very specific subset of people like autism, the fear then is that they're going to be targeted in some way, shape, or form. The HHS Secretary RFK Jr. has come out and basically said that he wants to essentially get rid of autism in his lifetime. Now, there's a lot of different factors that potentially go into autism. I'm not going to get into that. I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories, all that. Again, not getting into that. But how do you do that? If there are genetics in it and autistic people that have the ability to, let's say, get married and have kids, are getting married and having kids, how are you going to get rid of it in a lifetime? These are questions that are concerning, and these are questions that we should be asking. And again, this isn't political. This is essentially what they're doing. And, for those people that don't want, Big Brother, if you will, to have detailed and specific information on you, they're going to do it. Or at least that's the plan thus far. And it doesn't matter who you voted for. They're just going to do it, right? So take that for what it's worth. I hope they don't, but we'll see what happens. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please, please, please attempt to stay private, secure, and informed. Take care.